Today, we're talking about why even top performers feel exhausted and reactive, and how leaders can operate at a high level without sacrificing their future health or options. Please welcome Dr. Jaquel Patterson.
Was the worst year for a lot of us for our mental as well as physical health. So joining us this morning is best-selling author, coach Lisa Goldenthal.
Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa G, your host. You're at the top of your game, yet the game is changing faster than ever. Strategies that got you here aren't the ones that'll keep you here. The pressure is relentless, and the fear of obsolescence looms large. That's why I'm here. Welcome to the new podcast series, Disruptive: How to Be Gritty and Unlock Performance in Business, Mindset, Wellness, and Success to help you master disruption.
Thanks for coming, and I'll see you soon. Hello and welcome back. Today's conversation is for leaders who are high functioning on the outside, but running on empty underneath. Sound familiar? Burnout, brain fog, emotional reactivity, and anxiety that discipline and mindset can't fix. That is not a motivation problem. It's a biological one. My guest today has lived this from every angle. Former healthcare executive with an MBA, founder and CEO of a thriving multidisciplinary practice, commercial real estate owner, and new mother at 45. After her own fertility journey, she understands elite performance, invisible pressure, and what traditional medicine and mindset coaching miss. Today, we're talking about why even top performers feel exhausted and reactive, and how leaders can operate at a high level without sacrificing their future health or options. Please welcome Dr. Jaquel Patterson.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lisa, for having me here. Really excited for this discussion.
Well, I love your story. Congratulations on being a new mom
Thank
at
you.
45. I love it. I love it. And let's dive right into the topic so you can get back to your baby. Why are burnout, brain fog, and emotional reactivity biological factors, not motivational problems?
Yeah, so biological factors is a part that's like often, I would say, missed when we're looking at people as a whole. And I'm a naturopathic physician and functional medicine expert. I've been practicing for like 16 years. And so one of the things I found when I work with patients, a lot of them will come in. I do a lot for integrative psychiatry with anxiety or depression, and oftentimes with you'll see with that or ADHD issues, focusing, performing, low mood, motivation. And one of the pieces that I often saw was that a lot of the patients I see have seen 7 to 9 doctors and are just told, it's in your head. This is just anxiety. This is just stress. You're overly stressed with everything you're managing. And they still are not feeling well. They get on medications, they get
Right.
on psychotropic meds, and they still don't feel better. And so one of the pieces that doesn't get looked at is the biological perspective. Like, what are their hormones like? What is their gut health like? I also focus on infections like Lyme disease, or, they might have had long COVID, or, other infections that actually affect brain health and performance and impact our ability. Like, for example, if your testosterone's low for a woman, especially perimenopausal, that affects dopamine, which is related to our reward center and focus and cognition. And so biology has a physical, our function, our ability to function by way of health has a huge role to play. And we often look at it as just only a mindset or motivation factor, but there are a lot of underlying health conditions that can negatively impact us. And unless we get at that at the root cause, we're really doing a disservice to the person as a whole.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that
Mm.
you're not just like telling people you have to stay on antidepressant medications. Like for me, I know exercise has always been there for me. Like when I'm feeling
Mhm.
down or anything like that, it certainly helps lift my mood. So I
Exactly.
love what you're doing in the world rather than just,
And I also have my own personal. So like what you said with exercise, endorphins go up so you feel better. And I also had my own personal challenges with anxiety, OCD, and those pieces. And at the time I had a lot of like infections, inflammatory events that caused these like cognitive issues or fatigue and motivation. And when those went away, and I see that often with patients, when those get better, they're able to that is no longer a factor. And so I think that is just, I'm glad we're having this conversation because mindset is hugely important, but you have to physically feel well sometimes when you see the mindset it's not holding or not sticking. Is there another reason why? So it's just asking the why and being the detective as to why.
yeah, I love your getting to the root cause of things. And I'm big on performance. So like, why do elite performers often feel the most anxious or depleted even when they're doing everything right?
Mhm. So even if you're doing everything right, you could be exhausted. So if we look at something like stress, right? And high performance, I myself, as you mentioned, I was a healthcare executive for over a decade. So I mean, everyone, I'm sure listening into your podcast are, type A, we're performers.
Yeah.
And exactly. So
Hello.
so one of the pieces that we miss with it is that sometimes for some people the mindset and the performance is not necessarily the issue, it's the other pieces. So when we look at stress affects our adrenal glands, and we have the what's called HPA axis, and that chronic stress over time, the body that you start having what's called like adrenal dysfunction. And so these things that were performing well under stress, you're in this adrenaline overflow, it gets worn out. And so you stop producing as much cortisol, and you stop producing these things that were helping you perform, and you're really pushing yourself through it. So what some of my patients will say is they're wired and tired. Like my
Yeah,
mind is mentally there, right? But I'm
right.
extremely exhausted physically. And at a certain point, you just fully tap out and you don't have it anymore. And so that's what you'll see with elite performers. Also, I'll see with elite performers, their hormones, as I mentioned, will take a hit and their testosterone is low. Because
Yeah,
if you're in a state of stress, you don't need to reproduce, right? Like if you're in a state of stress, you need to survive. You don't need to
right.
then, actually be able to have a child, so those hormones will actually drop down as well. So that's a piece that definitely gets missed, and elite performers are more likely to have also hormonal issues because they may be, especially like an athlete, they're exercising more often, their cortisol's up higher. That affects their gut, that affects their adrenal glands. And so constant high performance over time, and also sleep issues. There's oftentimes like lack of sleep and restorative sleep. Those will all create an issue where you can't really perform at the same level as you did before. So it's really important to like address those, and that's really in seeking care with somebody that's focused in functional medicine to be able to do so.
Absolutely. I mean, how can this like impaired brain function quietly show up in leadership decisions, communication, and conflict?
Yeah, so what you'll have is there's certain areas of the brain. So when we look at like high stress or cortisol, where we look at infections, we have what's called the blood-brain barrier. And with our blood-brain barrier, it keeps things out, right? So it's for the most part, we want to keep all of these inflammation, anything like cortisol stress out of our brain, obviously. And what happens is if you're having this chronic level of stress or this chronic level of inflammation, you can get this what's called blood-brain barrier disruption, and things are starting to go in and out that are not supposed to be there. And the issue with that is it affects areas of the brain that are related to ability to make decisions. So areas like our prefrontal cortex, that's in the front of
Right.
the brain. So that's our ability to make decisions. That's our ability to like impulsivity. So you can have issues with like making basic decisions or being impulsive.
Right.
That's actually the area of the brain also for younger people that's developing up until they're 26. So all of that just like basic decision making could get impacted. Also, other areas of the brain get affected with that, which is called like our hippocampus. So that's our memory center. So that's our ability to remember things. So as or people have probably noticed, like I myself, when I was more stressed, I forget a lot. short-term memory, forgetfulness, leaving things, exactly, leaving things, forgetting. So all
Where's
of
my keys? All the things.
exactly. The key is walking into a room, right? And being like, why
Why
am
am
I
I
here?
here?
Exactly. So when you have this like constant disruption due to like chronic inflammation or stress, those very particular areas of the brain that help for things like memory, short-term memory, even long-term memory, you'll see people that have chronic depression, they actually will have like really strong issues with long-term memory. And so
Right,
those areas of the brain get impacted, and the basic things that you did all the time, making an easy decision, like what clothes, what am I going to wear to go out for a meeting,
right,
or preparing an agenda for a meeting, or, where am I at? Where are my keys? Just feeling like overwhelmed with just really simple things that aren't things that should be hard. That's what you'll actually see. And that's all as a result of chronic stress, hormones, inflammation, autoimmune conditions, individuals with chronic inflammation due to chronic disease conditions like diabetes or type 2 diabetes or hypertension or high cholesterol, they all affect the brain in the same exact way. And those can affect these things that prevent you from being able to be the elite performer that you were maybe normally were before.
yeah, I work with a lot of executives and leaders, and oftentimes the communication skills when they're under stress, that kind of leadership skills can go out the window into the reactivity, into being the kind of leader they need to be. So, what is the solution to stop being so stressed all the time? Do you go into any like natural solutions so that they can function better, so they can be a better leader?
Yes, yeah. So there are a lot of different, so you want, the first thing is you want to do a full workup. I always say with like just general, like outside of, I feel like everyone needs many different coaches. So I feel like everyone needs a therapist. I feel like everyone needs like an elite, like a coach, somebody that's going to create like mindset coaching. And then you also need someone that's going to look at like the physical health, be it,
Right.
health coach, someone functional medicine, where they're going to do a full cadre of blood work. So sometimes I find simple things as like simple as I'll check for patients and they're completely iron deficient and no one tested their iron and ferritin. They just did a complete blood count. Well, if you're iron deficient, you're getting less oxygen to the brain. You are not able to focus. I've had that myself with iron deficiency where I'd get dizzy or nauseous. I couldn't exercise. I'd fall asleep on the couch at 7 or 8 o'clock. I couldn't make like basic decisions. What you said, like I would think it in my brain. That's what I have with with some people, but then it
Yeah,
doesn't like come out verbally. And so you
right.
want to just do basic tests on that. Like, and a lot of people have not even get worked up for basic like minerals, magnesium, copper, zinc, iron. Also looking at your gut health and then also other like your inflammatory markers. So that's like the first basic thing I say is like making sure you get your thyroid. Because if that's low, you're going to also have those same issues. So that's one thing. And I said for people to advocate if they still feel like that, even after they've seen multiple, other doctors, ask those questions. Why do I still feel like this, even though I'm getting treated, or even though you may not feel that this is an issue? So you asking those questions. So I think that that is a really important thing is to like actually speak up and advocate for self. If you look at like lifestyle wise, for stress, the diets that have actually shown to be the most beneficial are the Mediterranean diet, also the ketogenic diet, and also something called the mind diet. So those are three types of diets. And then when you look at like cortisol and inflammatory markers by way of lifestyle, some things that have been proven by way of years of time are things like sauna. Sauna, there's studies that have shown improvement in brain health, improvement in cardiovascular health, improvement in decreasing inflammation. The more frequent people use things like far infrared sauna. Also another easy thing, grounding, going outside. There's been studies on forest bathing and the improvement on actually immune health and also decreasing inflammatory markers. So those are like basic things you can do. So some tips I just say is like first getting that full workup, making sure there's not actually like a deficit or a health condition. The other thing is building in small things of like 5 minutes grounding. There's grounding mats to do. There's going outside and doing a walk for 5 or 10 minutes. And then also all the basic things you can do. Some of the ones most studied for diet are those ones that I mentioned: Mediterranean diet, Mind diet, ketogenic diet. There are definitely lots of supplements. I'm drinking right now chamomile tea, which is pretty safe to do, after, even though I'm breastfeeding
Right.
and pregnant. Ashwagandha, I love adaptogens for people. Ashwagandha is a great one because it also helps with hormone health for women and for men, and it also helps to kind of recalibrate you. So that those are some. There's lots of different adaptogens: rhodiola, ashwagandha. Obviously, you always want to make sure it is okay and safe for you to take those things. But adaptogens are a great, usually easy and safe way to incorporate into your diet outside of just lifestyle stuff.
And what is the mind diet for people that don't know? I mean, people are somewhat familiar with the Mediterranean diet and the ketogenic diet.
Yeah, so the Mai diet is actually pretty similar to the Mediterranean diet. It has a little bit less in like fish content, but when you look at a Mai diet, it's a lot heavier in more plant-based in terms of like dark green leafy vegetables and a lot more colorful foods like like oranges and reds and things like that. So similar to the Mediterranean diet, but much more antioxidant focused.
Yeah.
And there's lots of studies showing like the more, because on average we'll say 3 to 5, but people that are eating like 7 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables will have more antioxidants in their diet, which are flavonoids that are really helpful for brain health and also mental health.
You are like a wealth of knowledge on how to not just let stress rule and to be healthier and not just think medication is the only route. So it's such a pleasure having this conversation.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Jaquel Patterson, where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at naturopathic.physician. And my practice site is fairfieldfamilyhealth.com. I practice out of Connecticut, but we actually see people throughout the country. A lot of my practice is actually telemedicine because of the uniqueness of what we offer. So I really appreciate being here, and and also just my baby's right here, again, like you said, 45 years old as a new mom. So stretching the limits on that and being able to incorporate it all is a story I always like to share, because I think sometimes people feel like you can only have one or the other when you're striving an elite performer mentally. And in work. And so that's another thing I've really enjoyed pushing the envelope on as well.
Well, I love your story. Thank you for being a great guest.
Thank you.